from around the world. How's everyone doing on this beautiful, fine, fantastic, majestic Monday morning? Hope you're doing just superb. It is indeed Monday morning, January 22nd of 2018. Had to make sure what year it was. But there's a lot of people from all around the world. Marios is from Cyprus. Al says good morning. Steve says hi from Scotland. What's up, buddy? There's a little bit of a tab when you're chatting. It's going to be on the bottom left-hand side of your chat pane. So when you guys are chatting in, make sure it's on all panelists and attendees. If it's on just all panelists, only myself and Brad will be able to see it. So I will say Zoom does change that from time to time randomly, but just kind of giving that some FYI. Wow, yeah, you guys are from everywhere. Sandra's in Australia, we got California, we got Alabama in the house, Greg's in Baltimore, Ahmed's in Saudi Arabia, Vicky's in India, Michael's from Thailand, Elvis is from New York, Steve's from Canada. All around the world, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. You guys ready? Let's get started. So, as you likely know, in the real life trading rooms, I have something called Mentorship Monday. And Mentorship Monday is a day designed and created for me to go a little bit slower than normal, but to focus on answering your questions and helping traders just kind of get an understanding of the markets, and design a day specifically every month to really just go back to the basics and re-explain, re-understand everything that we discuss and that we talk about. That happens once a month. Once every single month. And so today is Mentorship Monday. The next Mentorship Monday will be, I believe, February 12th, so 4 weeks from now. And then the next one after that will be March the 12th, and the next one after that will be April 2nd. So we already have these things all planned out and ready to go. But today is Mentorship Monday, so welcome. What we're going to do first and foremost is kind of describe a little bit about what we do in the morning room. Same time every day. We look for day trading opportunities. We do mostly day trade stock. If there's a good day trading, a weekly options trade every now and then on some of the big boys like Apple or Netflix, we will make that happen. We also will discuss credit spreads, future trades. We'll look at just about anything. If we have the ability to chart it, we'll look at it. But what we're going to do is, my goal for the next 90 minutes or so is to day trade with you guys live, show you kind of my process, show you kind of my approach, show you what I look for, what I scan for, and just answer any questions that you might have regarding the trading in itself. So let's get to it. This is a website that you are very probably familiar with. I get a lot of people mentioning that they can pay for scanners. You can pay for scanners, but you don't have to. When you are looking for trading opportunities, there are plenty of scanning opportunities out there that you can use for free. This is one of those websites. It's barchart.com. I put the link in the chat pane for you beautiful folks. So it's entirely free. This updates at 9 a.m. Eastern every day. And like I mentioned, yes, you can pay for screen services, but you by no means have to. This will get you plenty of opportunities, and it doesn't cost you a dime. You have gap ups and you have gap downs. So when I am day trading, that is the number one thing that I do, is I start looking for gaps. So number one thing that I do, I look for gaps. The reason I look for gaps is it cuts down on the amount of stocks to focus on. Right? So it cuts down drastically on how many stocks are out there that you can trade. We all know that there are tens of thousands of companies out there that we can trade every single day. I go and look for gaps, and I simply, at that point, once I find a stock that is gapping, I analyze the gap and then determine what type of trade it will be, determine if it's a good gap or not, and then kind of go from there. GW says, will you be able to listen to this recording of this? Yep, already got that taken care of for you. Absolutely. So you just hang tight. I won't be able to send you a recording now because we're live. But if you give me a few hours, once we're finished, then yeah, sure. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go look at the gap down list at this present moment in time. So here's the gap down list. And you'll notice the gap down list is much smaller than the gap up list. So we're going to go look at those first, just because there's less of them. It'll probably be an easier amount. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go look at some companies that we're all familiar with. Most of these companies are ones that we're familiar with. So based on time, I probably won't be able to look at all of them. Let's go look at SNY. This was just the first one. John says, do you ever use a TradingView screener gap list? I do, yes. Like I said, there are tons and tons of scanners out there. That's another cool part about the trading room, by the way, is you have hundreds of traders scanning for gaps individually. We're finding all kinds of good things. I'll put it to you this way, John. We never run out of opportunities. We never run out of one. So SNY, what you'll notice here is SNY. This stock gaps how often, ladies and gentlemen? Pretty much every day. Yeah, pretty much every day. This is what is referred to as an ADR. And you'll actually see it right here where it says American Depository. This stands for American Depository Receipt. This is a stock that gaps every single day. You'll see these stocks pretty often. This is very similar to silver and British Petroleum and so on and so forth. So when I get an ADR, those are stocks I don't really work on. I don't really focus on those. So it's going to go on to the next one. Could you trade it? Sure, but I just don't. There's plenty of opportunities out there. GE has just been getting run over by a train recently. So we're down again. What's interesting about this is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black candles in a row. The low was 1602, and we're gapping right now to about 1602. So what you'll notice is that you have a nice little lower shadow. A little bit of a lower shadow here today, or today being Friday. So there were some buyers towards the tail end of the day on GE, but I think those traders might get trapped. So I'm gonna leave that there. Put it on the list. Next on the list, we have CCC. I have no idea what company this is. Shaz says, does the reason of the gap mean anything to you? Yeah, so this is actually a great example right here of CCC. So notice, Shaz, that you have this particular stock is gapping way back in the day. It was a buyout. All right, are you able to see that? So as the buyout, we don't trade buyouts, mergers or acquisitions, mostly because it doesn't move very much, right? Once the buyout occurs, that's pretty much it. So it's a very good question. You know, I don't trade buyouts or acquisitions, mergers, anything like that. I don't trade if there's a new share, if they're releasing new shares, I don't trade those either. And sometimes it can be hard to make sure and to verify it's the right type of gap, but that's what the headlines are very good for. So here's AKS, AK Steel. It's gapping down 19 cents, $6.25. So if I'm looking at this particular chart, what I'm going to look for is where would the strongest gap be? Where would the strongest gap be? On AKS, in my opinion, if the stock gapped here in the green line, if the stock gapped here in the green line, it would be much stronger. Be much, much stronger. And that would be because anyone who bought, right, you can see that giant, huge bullish candle. Anyone who bought right there would be trapped. They'd be losing on money. They'd be scared. They'd be worried. And, you know, they would likely sell. But what AKS is doing is it's gapping to right here, which is not terrible. You'll notice that it is an evening star reversal pattern. And the candle from Friday had a nice long lower shadow. You saw a very good bullish candle on Wednesday. So there will be some people trapped. I think it's an okay move. but it's not as amazing. So we'll kind of figure out what's going on, but Marta says, how is the Slack chat room different from this week's live webinar? So Slack is 24/7. It's just a chat pane, Marta, that we use. This is like the community right here, pretty much to answer your question. But what can I get to that? But yeah, Slack, we use that between webinars, as Ashley said. So it's an okay gap on AKS. It's not really trapping that many people. The 20 EMA, which will be a target in this situation, is probably 618. So I'm going to put that on the list. We may or may not trade it. We'll see. Probably not. All right, so there's AKS. Next, we're all very familiar with Twitter and Micron. Let me go see if it's a good gap or not. Twitter. Yep, this looks like a good gap. So Twitter, the 50 EMA is at 2270, so that'll be a target because the trend is bullish, right? So we're looking at the trend. That's the trend. Right now we're gapping to 2320. 23, so now it's at 2318. Can anybody remind me what type of gap this is? What do you guys think? Anybody can you guys remind me? Yeah, retest gap. Exactly. So when I'm looking at a chart, you guys are all familiar with my gap strategies. You're all very familiar with how we approach it. RM says, what was your reasoning for focusing on the gap down list first? There were just less of them. That was my reasoning. Yeah, there's just less of them. So just going through them, it means there's going to be quicker, easier list to go through. So Twitter, this is a good gap down. We're going to put it on the list, and we're going to come back to it before market open and determine how we're going to trade that. Next on the list is Micron, so ticker symbol MU. MU is 4250. Type in a 3 in the chat pane if you can see what candle would be beneficial for this thing to gap below. If it's going to be a really good gap, type in a 3 if you can see which candle it should open. If you typed in a 3, you should be looking at this candle and or this candle. Those are the locations, those are the candles of which it should go below. So we're looking at it right now. We're seeing, okay, these are some good candles. I'm interested to figure out what exactly it does. So we're gapping to 4250. And 4250 is about here on the purple line. Right about there. Not saying it's a bad gap. Here's the higher lows right here. It's okay. I follow MU very often. This is a stock we look at every single day. And I actually do think MU will at some point get down to the 100. It could happen today, probably not. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write it down on another list. Let me update this on another list. And so as you guys know, I have multiple monitors going. I have other lists on the other side of my monitor that you guys can't see, where I just take down notes. These are mostly notes for me. So I'm just going to write down Monday morning. I'm going to write down MU. So that one's like, we'll see. Tim says, nice triangle for me. Exactly. I like the triangle in MU. I think it's going to get down to the 100, but at that point, it probably bounces. The reason I say that is because that's what happened last time. All right, last time I got down to the 100, that's what it did. Okay, so that's Micron Technology. I'm going to go about a little faster. I know STM, we trade this one, about once a month or so. STM is gapping down to 2472. 2472. Again, I'm going to jot this down on another list. It's okay, right? The low of this candle is the candle that you would want it to go below. Low of that candle is 2465. So obviously, we have time until the market opens, but as it stands right now, plenty of time. I'm going to write down on another list. It looks okay. Next on the list is CELG, Celgene. Celgene, this is actually a good gap on Celgene because Friday's candle was white. Friday's candle was white. which makes this what type of gap? Yeah, this is a gap and go. Absolutely. Mario says, how do you know which candle the next one has to surpass in order to be bearish? Well, that's just looking at the candle, but I'll give you an example, Marios. The way you do it is you determine if you would have bought somewhere, where would your stop be? So you tell me, let's say that you bought right here on this purple line. Where would your stop be right now, Marios? Your stop would probably be about here or so, right? Right about that red line, give or take. So if your stop is there, that's where you want the stock to be gapping below. You want the stock to be gapping below where you would put your stop. So the best thing to do is look at the chart and ask yourself, if I was in this trade bullish, where would my exit order be? And if the stock is gapping past that price, those are usually pretty good gaps. So this thing is gapping down actually below all of them. It's a nice gap, definitely list worthy. Going to put it on the list. We still got 13 minutes before market opens. I will be putting on some bullish gaps on here at some point. I'm going to look at 2 or 3 more. I'm going to go a little faster, but you guys are asking great questions. UBS, huge gap. This one does gap all the time, as you can see, so pretty much every single day, which automatically means I like it a little bit less. If something gaps every single day, the investors are comfortable with that. They're used to that, and they don't freak out as much. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for people who are wigging out because the stock is gapping one direction or another. So that's pretty much what's going on. Yeah, so this one, UBS, where is it? 1988. It's a decent gap, but again, it gaps all the time. It is, though, gapping below this candle, which is a big deal. Right, so the low of that candle is 1995. We are gapping below that. It's worth putting on the list, but we'll see. Maybe we trade it, maybe we don't. Okay, next on the list, we got SANM. Let's go figure out what that is. SANM, semiconductor technology. Whoa, this is gapping down large. 23%, that is huge. That is a massive, massive move. The challenge with gap downs that large is you're going to run into some problems, as you likely know. You're going to run into something called SSR. Type in a 1 if you guys ever seen that one before. That's called short sale restriction. That means that the stock has to uptick in order for you to short it. And or you can also run into something called HTB. HTB equals hard to borrow. I don't know if we're going to run into that issue or not, but we could. This is a good gap, but it's very large. It's a very, very big gap. I would prefer it to be opening here, or even here. One of those 3 red lines, but it's gapping much lower than that. It is a good gap. The question that I also have is going to be, if it's moving 23%, how much farther could it really move in a day? All right, how much farther could it really move? I will put this on the list, however. It does look nice. SANM. And last but not least is Wells Fargo, WFC. Wells Fargo gapping down to 63.80. Very interesting gap on Wells Fargo. Right below the low, these 2 very small bullish candles. That was an interesting gap. We're going to be watching that one as well. Adriano says, do you have a recommendation for free live data? TradingView is pretty good, free live data. Okay, so it is 8:20 a.m. Central, 9:20 Eastern. What I do at that particular time is I look at the SPY to get a general idea of what it's doing. SPY, we're gapping down slightly, nothing drastic. Very small gap. Okay. Nothing exciting about that. All right, let's go look at some gap ups. We won't be able to cover all of them because there's a lot of gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, how many trades do you think I'm going to place today? Any guesses? You all know me. You've been through my classes. Am I going to place 100 trades today? No, I'll probably take somewhere between 1 and 2, maybe 3 if we're lucky. Right? Less is always more in trading. I'm not going to be here to show off. It's really exciting to place tons of trades, but I'm not here to be excited. We're here to make money, right? If you're trading because you are excited, you're doing something wrong. Trading is exciting, making money is exciting, but you need to have a nice, cool, calm head anytime you trade. So again, there's a lot of gaps, right? How do you choose from these gaps? Well, my answer is going to be, I'm going to go through and look at companies that I've traded before profitably. It's pretty much that easy. I'm just going to go through. So Square, we've traded Square a lot. PETS, Bluebird, WYNN, we're going to look at some of those. So let's go look at Square. There are about 1,000 real life traders in Square. 4281, almost a good gap. So if Square were gapping above the open of this candle, which you guys know based from my Wealth 365 webinar, that's a very strong resistance, right? So if it was gapping above that wick and this wick, it'd be a much better gap. It's not quite there. I'm not saying it can't get above there. We're already in on a swing trade. But as far as a day trade goes, I'm going to jot it down on another list and just kind of keep moving on. Let's go look at WYNN, W-Y-N-N. That was on the list. Again, there's plenty of good gaps out there. WYNN Resorts. So WYNN Resorts has already been making a massive move. Ladies and gentlemen, what type of gap was this right here? What type of gap was that? Anyone remember? That was a retest gap. Exactly. Very easy, right? White candle, gapping up. So the question that you need to answer is, did it retest? Yeah, the same day, right? That was the opportunity to get in on that pullback. My boy Ricky is in. Rick, I'm glad to see you're here, by the way, bruh. Congrats, my friend. John says, do you ever apply fibs to the daily to determine where the price could go? All the time, John. Very frequently. That's where that target is, as you might notice. That purple target, Q2 2018. That's how I got it, bro. Steve says, is WYNN $183 a share? Right now it's 187 pre-market. So what we're doing today is we're gapping as a retest gap as well. White candle gapping up. It's gapping up pretty far. In fact, it's literally gapping to my Q2 target. Q2 target. So what that means to me is people are going to be selling, and I'll put on the list, but I don't know if I'm going to play WYNN today. I think most people are going to sell WYNN. All right, I'm going to add 2 more gaps. 2 more gaps. Let's look at NUAN. A lot of people requesting that one. Mario says, how do you estimate various quarter targets using Fibonacci analysis? So NUAN gapping up to 1865. This is a pretty nice gap. I would really like it to be opening about here, $18. We're gapping up a little bit higher than that, 1865. Maybe. It's okay. It is okay. HAL. Halliburton. So Halliburton is also gapping up. I would love it if this thing was gapping down. If it was gapping down and open right here would be amazing. That would be an incredible bearish gap. That's not happening. So it's gapping up to about here. Looks like it might retest and then continue higher. So that's pretty much what we got. Looks all right. Some type of flag pattern. So that's Halliburton. I like the gap. It's a good retest gap. We'll put it on the list. And what I will do from here is I will look at the rest of the trades. I'm gonna go look at pre-market. So what we got, and again, obviously, I know we're super excited. There's almost 400 of you here, so that's really, really cool. I love it. Thanks for being here. there is no end to how many stocks we can put on the watch list. My goal every day, so that you all know, like from one real life trader to another, my goal is to maybe take 1 to 3 day trades every day and make approximately 1 to 2%. That is my goal. Doesn't always happen, but what I can tell you is mathematically, this is just a math formula for my scientists and engineers and investors out there. The math formula is, if you lose less money than you make, you will be profitable. All right? That's the math formula. If you can't be profitable trading 1 to 3 stocks a day, do you think you'll be profitable trading 23 trades a day? What do you guys think? The answer is no. Right? If you can't make money just trading one singular setup per day, you're not going to be able to be profitable making 23 trades a day. Right? Jeff says, so you look at percentage and not R values for your statistics. So Jeff, 1 R equals 1%. Right, Jeff? So that's what I mentioned in all my classes is 1 R, which is a risk unit, is 1%. So yes, I look to make 1 to 2 Rs per day. That would be a fantastic goal. On average, I usually make about 1/4 of an R or something like that. So we got some good gaps. Let's go look at my favorite. My favorite gap of the day is CELG followed by SANM. So let's go look at CELG. We got 3 minutes before the market opens and we're gapping down to 100. We've changed a little bit. So I'm gonna come over here to the daily chart. I'm gonna draw a support resistance level. I'm gonna drop this one down. I'm gonna put one right here. And that's based on the low of this shadow right here. So this is definitely the best gap of the day, in my opinion. And I'd be looking at playing it bearish. So CELG followed by SANM. This is also a good gap. It's gapping down very far. Here's the 5-minute chart, and it looks like it's going to rally a little bit before the market open. Here's a pre-market support level. So if I was looking at shorting SANM, I'd probably look for it to roll up and then potentially roll down. But it is a nice bearish gap. GE is on the list, Anthony. Looks a little bit bearish. Looks like it's going to continue. The big challenge is there's not tons of people trapped on GE right now. You have 6 days in a row where it's already bearish. So there won't be a lot of people scared today on GE. Twitter is probably my 3rd favorite gap of the day. Here's the 5-minute chart, and it's trading sideways right now. It is a retest gap. I like this setup on Twitter. I'm going to wait for Twitter maybe 5 or 6 minutes or so to break the low of the day. I'll short the retest. That's going to be a good opportunity on CELG. Steven says CELG is gapping on mergers and acquisitions. Yes, but it's not the one being acquired. Right, Steve? At least I don't think so. I think it's doing the acquisitions. It's not actually being acquired. So Twitter, GE, AKS, UBS is all right. Wells Fargo is an interesting little move. I'm kind of excited to see what Wells Fargo does if it actually opens down here because it's on very, very small volume. WYNN is a good gap. It is a retest gap, so I would prefer for WYNN to pull back. You see this little gap right here? I would like it to pull back and then dip. NUAN, it's an all right gap, and HAL is also okay. So we got 2 or 3 that we like a lot. I'm here to help you. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. Here's the good news, folks. Most trading rooms have a 1-day trial. We're doing this all week. All right, we're doing this all week. So if I don't get your questions answered today, just come back tomorrow. So here's CELG. This is the 5-minute chart that I'm looking at right now. I can see a little bit of buying pressure. I can also see the pre-market support down here. So I'm going to keep an eye on CELG. I'm not trading anything right out the gate at this present moment in time. SANM, it is a strong bearish gap. I would not look to go bullish on this, at least not yet. So SANM, Twitter. So Twitter is already broken down. Let me just verify Yep, so Twitter is broken down. Got it. So I mentioned this right before, just a few minutes ago. I'm going to see if I can short Twitter on a pullback because it's a retest gap. So I'm not going to take the trade. I'm going to do it just like this. Twitter 2311 limit sell by 2334, I'm sorry. Then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna put that in our text message alert service. So when you join real life trading, I'll do a text message alert service for all of our trades. Then I'm gonna hop over to another screen and I'm gonna do a sell custom setup with 2311 as the entry. And the stop loss is going to be 23.34. Amount of risk is 23 cents. And then you always want to read out loud. Sell shares 23.11 at open, and then you're going to be having your buy orders as well. All right. So again, this is a retest gap. Doesn't mean it will work, but it does mean that we're looking for a pullback. All right, just got filled. Not bad slippage either. Pioche says if Apple is downgraded, the market closes lower today, bearish sentiment. Very possible. Yeah, very possible. So here's the gap that we're looking at on Twitter. And you'll notice again, very strong bullish candle right here. The open of that candle is 23.23. So the fact that we're opening below that is a pretty big deal. Here's the 5-minute chart. Now this has only been open for 2 minutes and some change. We're already profitable on it. That would be exciting for me just to make a really quick trade for you guys, a profitable trade, and then just kind of call it a day. That might be fun. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm putting it into the worksheet. This is the worksheet that we use to track all of our trades. So retest gap. This is something that you guys will get access to if you ever decide to join the real life trading rooms. You'll get access to our nifty little trade journal. Okay, and so what I want this to do is obviously I want it to close below that support in the next 2 minutes. I don't know if it will, but that's really what I would like it to do, is to close below that level. If it doesn't, that's okay. If we lose on this trade, that's okay. Again, mathematically, as long as you lose less money than you win, you'll be profitable. So it's a nice gap. We'll see what she does. CELG. So CELG, notice how it's hanging out at this red line. So this red line is the support that I drew based on the daily chart. Right, so there's the support, all based on this candle. That's how I dictated and drew that support. It was purely based on that candle. That is it. And you'll notice, based on that candle and that analysis, you can see that CELG is being held up by that price action. So that's a very important little takeaway right there. SANM, strong bearish gap and go. Very strong. So pretty much opened and just pooped its pants a little bit. It looks like it might be breaking that previous low. So this is a strong little move on SANM. Again, it's down 23%. And it is easy to borrow. It is shortable. So that's kind of an interesting little takeaway. So if SANM, if you're looking at playing it, here's my analysis on it. I'm already in a trade right now, and it's not working, at least not yet. So I'm going to keep waiting before I personally take another trade. So here's what I'm going to do, just to let you guys know. I am not personally going to take this trade, at least not yet, until Twitter starts working better. And it might not work at all. But if I were going to play SANM, it just closed below the pre-market low of day. So if I were going to catch it, I'd want it to pull back and retest that pre-market low of day and then roll lower. And my stop would be above those bearish candles. So again, based on your R strategy, you would just set up whatever your R is based on your stop value right here. and then you would take the amount of shares accordingly. Since it's Mentorship Monday, let's at least practice this really quick. Again, I'm not going to personally take this trade, but let's say, for example, that I wanted to get in with a $100 R. How many shares would that be? First one to get it gets a virtual high five. You're taking a $100 R, which is your risk. How many shares would you short in this example? You guys got to be faster than that. You might want to start building a worksheet or something. Corey says, what's the risk? $1? So 28.45 minus 27.30 is $1.15. So 100 divided by $1.15 equals 86 shares, 86 or 87 shares. Yeah, so that's how many shares you would be able to short per your risk profile. Right? If you were looking at getting in bearish, you would know how many shares to get in bearish at based purely on the risk value. And that's a big deal because that way, it just got stopped out of Twitter, by the way, because that way you know how many shares you're going to lose on. So on Twitter right here, right, it was a retest gap and it definitely retested pretty nicely. But what's exciting about this particular trade on Twitter, at least in my opinion, is even though on the 5-minute chart, it did not close below that level, which is really what I wanted it to do. It did not close below that level. What's most exciting is on this trade, I know exactly how much I'm going to lose on this particular trade. That is an exciting thing because you know precisely how much you're going to lose. And the cool part is if you use a limit sell, which we did, you actually got filled a little bit higher than 23.11. And with that setup, we actually ended up losing, or at least I did, a little bit less than a full R. 23.35 was the effective exit price on Twitter. Washing my hands, moving on to the next one. Twitter did not work. Good try, though. Andrew said, would you consider that reversing on Twitter? Reversing as in going the opposite direction? Yes, I would. Especially if this 5-minute candle closes above this pre-market resistance right here. If that happens, could I trade Twitter bullish? I could. Will I? Probably not. It's still a good bearish gap. I think it ends up working. I'm going to try to see if I can find something else. So notice, I still love this CELG trade, but it just didn't work. Back over to SANM. So SANM, I mentioned I wasn't going to take this trade until Twitter starts working better. Well, Twitter didn't work. Twitter did not work. So this stock did retest. It just didn't quite retest where I wanted it to. So this is probably going to be my next victim. It's a very good gap. It's just large, very large. So I'm going to give that one a little bit. If I miss it, that's okay. I miss trades all the time. As long as we get the analysis correct. Wells Fargo, so Wells Fargo did not gap. Okay, so it had very, very low volume. Didn't think it would. GE. So what's happening on GE right now, folks? Again, looking at the candlestick sentiment. What's happening on GE? And this was being able to read the candles is going to help us out influentially and exponentially in determining how we play the trade. This is a visual representation of the shorts buying to cover, right? If you can look at these candles and you go, oh man, there's a lot of bearish candles right there, and it gaps down again, this is a more than likely a phenomenal expose in what not to go bearish. So when not to go bearish, this is a great example of that because you had so many bearish traders already snagging in bearish. And they, at this particular point in time, decide to go bullish. They're buying their bearish position. So reading this candlestick analysis is determination for me to say, all right, this is a good time to not go bearish. Twitter did have a nice tweezer top on the 1-minute chart. It got me and then rolled over a little bit. You little dirty devil. Was it a tweezer on the 1 minute chart? Not quite. Not quite. So to be a perfect tweezer top, these two candles would need to be the exact same high. They need to have the same high. So what is interesting is that if you hop over here to the 5 minute chart, Twitter did not close above this resistance or this support. Hasn't closed above either one. So this is what I call a shakeout. It's shaking people out, both the bulls and the bears. There's some people who went bullish right there, and there's some people who went bearish right there. That says to me, wait. Let's give Twitter a little bit longer before we do anything and figure out what it's going to do. If it's going to shake out people in both directions, it's going to, if it did it once, it's going to do it again. If it did it once, it will probably happen again. Trader saying GE is bullish until 1675. Probably. Yeah, there's a lot of bullish volume on GE right now. So let's go hop over to WYNN. WYNN was a good one. And WYNN is a bullish retest gap. So we turn off the extended hours. What it's doing right now is retesting. That's exactly what it's doing. WYNN is retesting. Huge bunch of gap ups, nice white candle. I am debating on fading WYNN. Fading WYNN means I'm trading in the opposite direction of the gap. WYNN. So it's a nice white candle gapping up. Here's the pre-market support resistance. There's a little bit of a retest gap right here. Let me just see what the next 2 to 3 minutes does on WYNN, but I'm gonna scoot it up. And then of course, we could play WYNN twice, right? We could short it down into here for a small gain, and then we could look to go bullish on the retest. Right? So in day trading and really any trading, you never, ever, ever want to get caught up in what the stock's doing right now. You want to start planning always, always, always be thinking 15 minutes in advance. It doesn't matter what the stock's doing right now. You're either going to win or lose. What is your setup 15 minutes from now? Plan ahead. Tell the stock what you want it to do, when, where, and why. That's going to be the key. That'll be the key. Richard Angelis says, I managed to get a 1-point profit out of a bad trade on Twitter. Hey, nice job, man. Steve says, do you never use buy stop or sell stop to get in on trades? Always limit buys. Good question. I actually do use buy stops and sell stops pretty often. Yep, I do. So it's pretty much 50-50, Steve. It's 50-50. Now, I did lose on a trade already today, so I'm waiting. I'm waiting it out. I'm going to see what we got. The exciting part is if I take one profitable trade this afternoon and I make more than an R, I'm profitable on the day, and that's probably going to be all I take. I'll take a positive carry into tomorrow, and that'll be that. John says, do you use options to trade intraday? I do, but only on certain stocks. So SANM, oh shoot, it did retest. It did. It popped up there. All right, let me take off the extended hours and see how far this might pop. Because again, it's down 23%. So my question is, how much farther is it really going to go? Because what I definitely do not want to do is lose another R in the first 30 minutes of the day. It's all about risk management. This stock also trades in 5-cent increments, which I'm very rarely a fan of. Let me keep waiting on SANM for just a little bit longer. WYNN, we'll see. Charles says, would you trade intraday options on Amazon? Yes. CELG is kind of still popping a little bit. Twitter is getting all over the place. GE is hanging out. AKS does look a little bit weak. But it traded right down to the 50 EMA. Okay, so it's already done its thing. AKS I can pretty much take off the list. I'm going to rescan for gaps in a little bit. UBS, I can take that off the list, right? Even though this was a good bearish gap, we can see that it gaps all the time. So it means much less. It means much less, at least in my opinion. And then Halliburton, very nice retest on Hal. Very good. It almost made it to the 10 EMA on the daily with non-extended hours on it. Almost made it. If I turn the pre-market on, we'll see that we're in a little bit of a channel type of move on Halliburton. So again, right, you would have planned everything 15 minutes in advance. So we got a nice resistance here on Halliburton. We got a really good support right there. That's the channel. So if I were looking at going long on Halliburton, I would trade it down into here. Richard says, do you scan for small cap stocks? Rarely, because it's just a different style, I guess. That's like asking, do you play rugby or do you play lacrosse or soccer? I mean, it's just a little different approach. So small cap, low float, high momentum, low volume stocks, not really my play. I like the big boys, man. They just move better. All right, so WYNN. Yeah, WYNN is fading a little bit. So WYNN, again, based on the daily chart, right? Daily chart gapping up to a really strong target. It's a huge move. If I open up WYNN, there's a lot of analysis on WYNN that I had previously. Let me pull up some of my WYNN charts, WYNN. WYNN. And this is some pretty cool charting. So as you all know, we've been going bullish on WYNN for a while. This is March 13th, 2017. So as surprisingly as it sounds, almost a year ago. And this is me saying channel breakout on WYNN. All right, that was my posting on TradingView. And I said nice bullish gap and go on the weekly chart. WYNN has been in a nice accumulation phase. Feel free to watch on daily charts, but this weekly gap does not look weekly, spelled W-E-A-K-L-Y. But obviously we all know what happened on WYNN at that point. Very nice bullish gap and go on the weekly chart. Huge run up. Very nice move on WYNN. And then this one was just back in September, just weeks ago, or I should say months ago. And this was the retest of that breakout. And you'll notice that one worked flawlessly as well. Traded right into that limit buy of 139. This is a beautiful, beautiful chart to play a retest. I'll put that in the chat pane just in case you guys want it. The chart on the right was the weekly time frame. Again, beautiful retest. Very, very nice. Good moves. So WYNN right now, its gap is nice, but it's just really far up there. Really far up there. So if you're fading this one, we're going to be real quick if we end up fading this trade. Meaning we're going to get in and we're going to get out pretty quickly. Brian says, I'm a rookie. What sites should I have open on my desktop besides my trading account, news, etc.? Trading account and charting software. That's pretty much it, Brian. If you want to have the news open, man, you're more than welcome to, but it just depends on how quick you are. Less is always more in trading, my man. Less information, less stocks, less trade setups. Less is more. NUAN, definitely retesting, for sure. If I was going to go bullish on NUAN, Steve Morton was asking about that one. I would go bullish above that very obvious hammer candle. And that would be with a, as you were mentioning earlier, Steve, a stop market order. I'll put Steve M. I'm not going to personally take that trade right now, Steve. I'm just kind of watching it because, again, I'm already down on the day, so I'm trying to find something that just speaks to me. But NUAN, if I was playing for it, there you go, man. That's how I would. So let's go over to SANN. So again, this is down 23%. So this is a massive move. Really, really strong setup. And I don't honestly know if you would have gotten filled right here. The high of this candle is 27.30 and the limit sell was 27.30. With a 5-cent ticker, I do not believe this would have filled. That's the challenging and the kind of rough thing with 5-cent stocks. So the bid-ask spread is in 5-cent increments. So even though this did hit our limit sell to the exact penny of 27.30, you wouldn't have filled because it's a 5-cent increment, which is a little frustrating. So again, 5-cent increment plus it's down 24%. Yeah. CELG, we're going to keep waiting on. Twitter looks like it's going to go higher. GE, same thing. NUAN might go lower. HAL's chilling. Brad's posting a trade setup in the chat pane. ADNT. So this one's also pretty far down there. 70.64. 70.64 by 71.52. That does look like a Brad Reed move. Brad's just a better trader than I am in general. 70.64. This is a volatile stock. The bid-ask spread's like 20 cents. This is a monster. I'm gonna wait on that one a little bit, but I will put it on the list. Put that one on the list. ADNT. Sherry says, wonder if you have a scanner going to show new gaps while you're watching your current setups in TradingView. Yes, so that scanner, Sherry, you might have been a little bit late to the room. I'll put that in the chat pane again. This is the one that I use. It's free, it's easy to use, and I will be going looking through other gaps momentarily. Yes, I will start that process here pretty soon. We got a little bit of a list. I've lost on one trade. WYNN is already retesting. Yeah, I'm just going to wait on this one, guys. I'm going to wait on WYNN. It's too strong. Too strong. It just traded right down to the 20. It's retesting, ironically enough, it's retesting this retest gap right there from the pre-market. So it did trade down. It did fade, and then it just kind of popped off some support. So I'm probably going to be too slow to catch WYNN. But I do think eventually WYNN does go higher. 191.60 is just going to be the first stop, and then it'll probably keep going. A lot of you talking about Apple today. Apple, not really doing much, guys. Very, very small gap. This is an incredibly strong trend. Just traded right down to the 10 and is bouncing. So for me personally, I would just kind of wait it out on Apple. It looks bullish. In my personal opinion, I would be very strongly bullish on Apple. John P. asked the question, so you do not have a fixed watch list that you follow every day. Is it based on the gap up or gap down list? For day trading, John, that is correct, my friend. That's correct. So in day trading, I'll day trade pretty much whatever's moving. I do have a list of fixed stocks that I watch every day. Sometimes I day trade them, sometimes I don't. But it's stocks like, it's the big names, right, John? Apple, Facebook, Netflix, SPY, things like that. That we'll trade pretty often. Those are the ones that we'll trade with options. I wasn't going to bust out option trading right now on the first day of the free room for obvious reasons. That would just open up a phenomenal can of worms. Everyone wants to know how to trade options all the time, which is great, but it's just, a little bit harder. A lot more variables, a lot more questions. I didn't want to overwhelm anyone who's brand new. Let's see. So yeah, Google. Google's going to keep crushing it. Probably by mid-April, maybe even before there, we'll get to 1240 on Google. This is a stock that if I had a few $1 million, I would have Google shares forever and ever. Long term, I love me some Google. Just going to kind of slowly continue to creep higher. And Halliburton, HAL. This is indeed a tweezer bottom. Nice, Mr. Falco. Tweezer bottom on Halliburton. The big challenge on HAL is it is at a resistance. So, right, you always want to plan 15 minutes in advance. If I were playing Halliburton, here's what I would look for. I would look for, here's the resistance on Halliburton. I'd look for the break and make a higher high, a pullback, and then a limit buy opportunity on Halliburton. That's what I would be looking for if you're looking at playing it. I will keep it on the list. Angela says, are you watching Snapchat? No, ma'am, it was not on my list. What is Snapchat doing? Going lower, makes sense. Snapchat, nice little, very small bearish gap, but it is a good mover. Al says, do you trade cryptos ever? A little bit, yeah. That was sarcasm, a lot. Yeah, a lot. Here's AET. AET. Aetna. It's a very small gap, but it looks like it's doing pretty good. Looks like a nice trend higher. Aetna, AET. DZ Batista is asking about bull call spreads and things of that nature. I have a lot of articles on those, DZ. Tons and tons. All of my content is free. Whatever you need to have, you can pull up and search. Let me pull up bull call spread for you, bull put spread for you, ratio spread for you. I'll throw those into the chat pane just for you, sir. If I want some, there you go. And you can read up on your bull call and bear call, bull put, bear put, ratio spreads. There you go, my friends. All right there. I'll save you thousands of dollars. Enjoy. Jason Jackson, my brother, says IBM. IBM. So no real gap on IBM, but it did trade down to a previous resistance, nice little support. What's interesting about IBM is here is a resistance level. Old resistance became new support. Black candle gaps down. This is a retest gap. And it pulled down and it's retesting and probably bouncing. So IBM looks a little bullish. That's pretty much it. Christian says, thanks for live trading, Datcam. That's awesome, man. Appreciate it. So what you guys are doing right now, this is phenomenal. This is one of the reasons I love being part of the trading room is you guys are already starting to search for other gaps and you're throwing stuff my way, which I love. You're doing all the work for me. TEVA trend does look bullish. I like it. No real day trade gap though. Goldman Sachs, again, no real day trade gap, but a good looking trend. And LOW. So remember, I'm looking for gaps. You can day trade just about anything. Literally just about anything, but LOW did gap. Lauren says, just played a nice retest gap on lows. Nice, Lauren. Beautiful stuff. Here's the 5-minute chart, and the 5-minute, this was a good gap. And it did retest very nicely. Well done, Lauren. I did not see this, obviously. A lot of stocks out there, but here's the resistance from yesterday. Old resistance became new support. Very nice hammer candle, entry stop. Shoot, that was good. Very nice. Claudemir says, Jeremy, thank you for what you do. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for being here. We still got a lot of day left, folks. A lot of day. We've only been together an hour, believe it or not. So again, SANM. This is going to be a challenging one to short, but I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to do it. WYNN, beautiful retest. CELG, nice move. Twitter. Am I going to fade Twitter right here? I think I might. I did lose on Twitter earlier. If I play this again, it'll be a very quick play. I'm just going to be in and out for a small gain. This is a possibility on Twitter. Very possible. NUAN, so a lot of you are still watching that one. So NUAN came back down to the 50. So if I were playing NUAN, if I take off the pre-market, you'll notice it's actually about to come into the 10, which this is pretty classic retest action. What I would do at this point is I would wait another 5 minutes for a Morningstar reversal to form. Wait another 5 minutes for a Morningstar reversal. because it has not actually interacted with the 10 EMA on the daily yet. It's getting close, but hasn't quite gotten there. So remember, folks, you can always wait longer. Worst case scenario, you lose out on the trade and you miss the trade. That's worst case scenario. Kenton says, what bid-ask spread do you like to trade? The smallest one possible. Smallest one possible. If it's a large bid-ask spread, then you're going to have a really hard time getting a good fill. So back over to Twitter, which Twitter was a dirty little animal. That's fine. Twitter, I probably do want it to close above here, right? Because there was twice where it did not close above. Let me let it close. Let it close, and I'll determine from there what I want it to do. Because it's already, you know, whipsawed two people, bullish and bearish traders. TEVA is on the list, Anthony. It's a good trend. I like the trend for a swing trade, not necessarily a day trade. The low of these two candles, as it stands, is 1 penny away from a tweezer bottom. So if you're looking at the $22 calls, I like that plan. My stop would go below the low of these two candles. And the trend is your friend at this point, buddy. So here's a white candle gapping up. That was a retest gap. Here is a previous resistance, right, on TEVA. Old resistance, new support. Boom. There's the retest right here. Looks good. That's TEVA. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Home Depot. John says, look at Home Depot. What is your opinion? Thanks. Home Depot, very strong bullish trend. What's your question on it specifically, John? I mean, really at this point, it's just all about, if you're in, fantastic. If you're not in, find a dip buying opportunity and then buy the dip, because you can't really argue with that trend. It's an unarguable trend. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But that's pretty much it. Just going higher. Daniel says, thoughts on MU? Wait for it to bounce off the 100. Yes, that is correct. John says, yes, I'm in. Explain trailing stop. John, I don't personally use trailing stops. I just manually move them. So, you know, if you're using a trailing stop, just make sure to read what type of stop it is. If it's a percentage stop or if it's candle by candle, bar by bar. You know, I don't know what broker you use. If you want to let me know, I can kind of tell you what trailing stops they have available. But usually most trailing stops are just below the low of the previous candle is what they end up defaulting to. But it all comes down to time frame, guys. All comes down to time frame. How long do you want to be in the trade? Is it an investment? Is it a short-term trade? What's the plan? Twitter. I still want it to close above there. SANM doing its thing. WYNN's hanging out, and CELG is popping bullish. Okay, so CELG was a very good gap, but again, based on just some very simple support and resistance drawings, we did not get in on that one bearish, which is great. I have one trader wanting to look at RNST. RNST, very sideways. Very sideways. It's at a resistance right now. At some point, it might break out, probably will. Most of the market's going pretty bullish. But there's your channel. And at this point, one of two things, either this and this, or this and this and this. So either buy the retest of the breakout, or if it rolls back over, look to kind of buy that dip. But that's pretty much all I got on RNST. That's my thoughts. Hopefully that helps. John says, do you ever buy an IPO? I will. I usually wait 2 or 3 days after it opens. So Halliburton, Mr. Robert Falco putting in a trade setup on Halliburton in the chat pane. So there's the breakout on Hal. So he's going to go with, what do we have? Where is it at? 54.70 by 55.20. I like it, Robert. Looks good. So I'm going to put Robert's numbers in here so we can follow him. 55.20. I think you mean 54.20, Robert, right? Maybe something lower, unless you're shorting it. Okay. 54.20 by 54.70. All right. So this is the trade that Robert F is looking at playing on HAL. So he's pretty much just looking for it to retest old resistance, new support. So let me hop over to Twitter because I wanted Twitter to close above that resistance, which it did not do. So as you guys can see, Twitter did not close above that resistance. Type in a 1 if you remember why I wanted it to close above there. And for just in case, I'll reiterate anyway, but the reason I wanted it to close above that resistance before I did anything with it was because the last 2 times it did not close above the support or resistance and whipsaw people. Right? So that wick and that wick did not close above support or resistance. So it trapped a bunch of people, including me. So I'm just waiting. I'm being as patient as I can. A loss in the R on it will write out an R. And if that's what I end on the day, that's okay. Not a big deal. Netflix, powerhouse trend. It's a very strong bullish trend. And Netflix will just keep slowly climbing higher. I don't know what it's going to do on earnings, obviously, but they are tonight. And in the afternoon trading room, I'm sure we'll discuss at some point a play on Netflix. But Netflix will go higher this year. 300 is my target on Netflix for the year. But it's about to come into daily resistance, almost there. Tommy says, do you trade during earnings? Very rarely. Very rarely. If it's a company that I absolutely love a lot, Tommy, like Apple, Netflix, Facebook, Google or Amazon, the big names, Tesla, then I will do option plays over earnings. Usually some type of bull put spread or bull call spread, a debit spread, something like that. Maybe a put sale if I have enough margin. But as far as holding directional options, so Marios is asking, do you recommend holding Facebook calls over earnings? No. Unless they have a long time to expiration and they're in the money, I do not hold directional call options over earnings. Unless, of course, you're comfortable with the risk. So if it's out of the money and it's March, that's a negatory for me. That would be a no. PETS. Wow, so that one faded. Everyone sold. Locking in some premiums. I'll put pets on the list. TLT, who's that? John P. So John, you're still chatting to all panelists, by the way. So just in case, if you want to change your chat pane to all panelists and attendees, so everyone can see that genius of yours. What I'm looking for on TLT is I like doing credit spreads on TLT. And I was looking for a March bull put spread on TLT, which is 115, 114. And right now that pays not a lot of premium, 30 cents, maybe 25. It's about a 6%, 7% return on investment. I think I'm gonna wait on it. That's where I would like to do a bull put spread. I feel like that's a very safe bull put spread, John, in my opinion, on TLT for March. Otherwise, I mean, yeah, I'd do bullish to non-directional. Maybe if you want to buy some shares or some kind of bull put spread somewhere down here, because 122 is a strong support. Yep, strong little support. Okay, so Juno, right? We know Juno's getting bought out. ARRY, somebody was looking at that one earlier, so now I'm starting to go through some other stocks that are gapping and see if we can play anything. We may or we may not, right? It's no big deal. ARRY did retest. It did retest. Look at that. Nice little tweezer bottom right on the 10. ARRY. Back over to Twitter. So Felipe is saying Twitter short 2340 by 2355. Thank you, Felipe. I'll keep an eye on Twitter for you. So Felipe is looking at short it pretty much where it is now, a little bit lower. Back over to NUAN. Steve says, I set my entry order at 1807. Why 1807, Steve? Why not 1798? Philip, gotcha. Noted. So NUAN, you got your nice little morning star reversal, which is what I mentioned. I said wait for another 5 minutes for the morning star. There's your morning star. So when you're buying, right, you want to buy as low as possible. So if anything, I would just do a limit buy and see if it pulls back down to your area rather than buying it higher. So yeah, once the morning star, I mean, it showed. This was it right there. That is the morning star. All right, so always plan as far as you can in advance. As far as you can in advance. Here's Facebook, FB. So Facebook is at 183. Very easy bounce off of the 100 simple moving average. Very simple. Very easy. Robert Falco sold some puts. Good job, Robert. A few other traders bought some shares. Just a nice buy low, sell high opportunity on Facebook. It'll slowly continue higher. Halliburton is at 5502. Looks like it's just kind of continued. A nice little breakout. Good job, Mr. Robert Falco, recognizing that tweezer bottom pattern. It's a very strong candle pattern for sure. Very nice. Very pretty. But Robert says he's canceling his setup because he did not get filled. All right, still looking for something else that we can put our eyes on. Walmart. Walmart might be breaking above higher. And the trend is just going to slowly keep grinding. I'll throw Walmart on my list to see if we can break out and kind of continue higher. John is requesting Nike. So Nike, this purple line is the previous all-time high, or at least very close to it. So there's definitely some resistance up here on Nike. This is probably going to fill the gap a little bit more. White candle gapping up. It probably will fade some. Do I want to play that low of the day break on Nike? I might actually. I very well might do that. The list is getting pretty long though, so I don't think I'm going to add too much more. Let me look at the hourly chart. There has to be a moving average, so we're there at the 20. If I turn the extended hours off, we're right there at the 10. So it definitely needs to break the low of the day. All right. So Nike, I will put on the list. It was a very small gap, but just looking at the candle, that's a pretty decent candle right there for it to break lower. Since I'm looking for a breakout, this would be a stop limit. That would be a stop limit, and the actual stop loss order would be right about here. Let me give that about 10, 15 more minutes to play out, but I will put that on the list and watching it pretty closely. Ed says, I've been following Nike for a few weeks now. It tends to go lower in the AM and then rises throughout the PM. Yeah, very possible. It's just a solid trend. So Nike right at resistance. My last analysis on Nike was pretty easy. You had all of these white candles, right, Ed? All of those bullish candles, and you knew you were going to get a retest and then a continuation higher. Just all those buyers, they had to sell at some point to lock in a profit. So if I hop over here to Nike, ticker symbol NKE, this is my chart on Nike to kind of give you an idea of how some other real life traders played that retest. So I'll throw that in the chat pane for you just in case you want that copy of that chart. But that was way back when, December 18th, mentioning that it broke out and we wanted it to retest. And there you go. There's the retest. Michael says, I feel like no one's looking at cyber today. I think cyber's been mentioned a few times in the chat pane. But you gotta understand, Michael, there's just how many stocks are there out there in the world? The chances that we all look at one of them all the time, it's pretty flat right now. I don't see any real gap. I don't see anyone losing any their money immediately. I don't see anything specifically exciting about cyber personally at this present moment in time. Nice sideways movement. So if you had bought it this time in July, it's the exact same price it is right now. No gap, nothing amazing. Could be good for a bull put spread or something, but yeah, it looks pretty dead. I agree with you, Michael. Good eyes, man. Good eyes. Okay, next on the list, again, Nike. I'm gonna keep an eye on that one. SANM. Here's the other thing about stocks that have moved this far. Again, the question is how much farther are they really going to go? Right, this thing already is down 24%. WYNN. So WYNN bouncing around. CELG. Might be able to take that off the list in a moment. GE kind of went higher, but we knew that was going to happen. NUAN. Beautiful morning star reversal, folks. Congrats for those who played that one. If you did play the morning star, because right, we talked about that in advance. We said, hey, wait for that morning star to form, and it did, and then broke higher. What I would do in that situation is I would take the stop from 1767, and I would move it up to right here, 1774. So I would increase that stop a little bit just so that you can lose less than 1 R. Give it a few more minutes to play out, and then I think you'll be able to increase the stop a little bit higher. Halliburton was a good move. AD&T is just trading very sideways right now, not really doing all that much. AET, this is the 5-minute chart, just a nice looking trend. It did have a gap, very small gap, but just is slowly creeping up. Goldman Sachs, again, no real gap on Goldman Sachs, just a solid little trend. I mean, there's a lot of good trends out there. Market is very bullish. Ira says, do you pay for TradingView or is this a free version? It's a very good, fair question, Ira, but I would never trade real money on the free version, right? So I trade for income, so this is definitely the paid version of TradingView. I'll spend the 20 bucks a month. PETS had a big gap up today. A lot of people pretty much sold it immediately, and it looks like it might bounce. ARRY is still kind of hanging out. Walmart is a maybe for me. Microsoft. So Microsoft, nice looking trends. I like it. Al. So Al's asking, do you use Coinbase or GDAX to trade cryptos? The answer is yes, but you guys all know that I'm doing a crypto class next week, right? So make sure to stick around, stay tuned for that. You'll be getting more information later in the week. But yes, I'll be showing you my account, showing you how I trade it, showing you my thoughts, talking all about cryptos, Al. It's coming, my man. 1 more week from today. But yeah, Microsoft, nice little trend. Looks very pretty. Baidu, ticker symbol BIDU, is down, unfortunately. So I got a swing trade on Baidu, and Even though most of the tech market's up, Baidu is down. It's kind of lame. Charles says, which will be recorded, correct? Charles, the percentage chance, if you go back to the historical record of how many webinars I've recorded, I would put it at a 100% chance, just simply based on previous historical records. Yeah. Ed says, do you ever play the indices? All the time. All the time. Claudia says, can you look at Alibaba? Here's BABA. So Alibaba down right now. I was looking for it to at some point maybe break above 186.23 bullish. I really hope, and I'll let you all know now, I really do hope that BABA gets down to 160, the low 160s. If that's the case, I will certainly go bullish on there. It's all about buying low and selling high, right? So if BABA can make it down there, I like it. I dig it a lot. Here's SPY. And SPY, Derek Washington, new all-time highs, bro. Just a gorgeous little trend. Love SPY. Looking nice. All right, I'm gonna go back through the list. So Twitter, hanging out. Nike, hanging out, but it doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad. Again, all I have to do is make more than one R on Nike or whatever else I trade. I'll be profitable for the day. So that's kind of my goal. WYNN's going higher. CELG is going higher. GE is hanging out right now, but definitely did not go bearish. NUAN we'll keep waiting for, but we did move up the stop. Halliburton had a nice move. AD&T, Brad says he's canceling his AD&T trade setup, so we can take that off the list. AET is hanging out, Lowe's is hanging out, Pets.com is hanging out, ARRY, and then Walmart. I'm trying to see what Walmart will end up doing. But the good news is you guys are asking a lot of fantastic questions. That's exciting. Mr. Mike Rosenthal, how are you? He says, how pulling back to a good entry? Not yet. I think a good entry on Halliburton for a day trade would be 54.60. That's the previous resistance right here, old resistance, new support right about there. If it pulls back to that spot, I like it much better. It definitely had some a good gap this morning, very pretty, just right above that resistance. Nice play. Not bad at all. Well, here's the good news. So for those watching this live, believe it or not, the market's been open almost an hour and I've been recording 90 minutes. So for those watching this on the recording, I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording and you'll get another hour later in the afternoon. But for those who are here live, we're just gonna keep crushing it, looking at charts, answering any questions. I'm still going, so I'm just gonna turn off the recording. So anyway, for those watching the recording, thanks for being here. Thanks for being real life traders and thank you for helping us enrich lives. You guys rock.